you very much. It's 2 o'clock. Thank you all for joining us today a bit early because we have so many wonderful things going on and we wanted to make sure we have time for the wonderful speakers that are going to be on today. But we'll go ahead and let's see, start with our roll call. So I am Kat Odell and I'm the chair and I am here and I am alone in the room. Vice Chair Michael.
I'm here and I'm at DHS.
Thank you. And Philip is not feeling well today. He cannot join us. Our finance director, Shanda. Is she here yet? Okay, we'll come back to her. Sandy. Can't hear you, but I know you're there.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, she's coming in with her speaker. Can't hear you yet. It's still on mute, I think. There we go.
Sorry about that. I am in the room and I am alone.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. And I think I just saw Shanda. Are you with us today?
Still connected via audio.
Connecting to audio. Joe.
Aloha, Joe here. I'm alone on Maui.
Thank you. And Rocco.
I'm here and I am alone in the room.
Thank you. Rick, do we have Rick today?
Rick said he was having a line.
Yep, so might be coming on in a bit. Shanda, you're on. Oh, nope, still connecting to audio. Okay, we'll come back to Shanda. Let's see. Beth, I believe you are here with the DOE.
I am here.
And
I am here. Oh, hi, I'm here.
perfect. And you're alone in the room?
I am alone in the room.
Thank you so much. Cameron from UH. I don't think I see him on yet. No? Okay. And then we have David Rodriguez.
Not here.
You are?
No, he's not.
Not here. Okay, thank you. Signe?
Hi, yes, I'm here, alone in the room.
Thank you. Jonathan Kimura? Okay. Thaddeus Pham? Shanda, I believe you just popped on. Did I see you? Are you here and alone?
There is another human being in the house, Richmond Brack, but not listening.
Okay, thank you. Our secretary?
Hi, I'm Devin.
Thank you. And then let's see who else is here today. I see Ren.
Aloha. Hi.
Hi, Ren. Welcome. And Leanne.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. And Josh.
Hello, are you asking me? Are you talking me?
Yes, you're here. Wonderful.
I'm here and I'm alone in my office.
Thank you for being here. And Nicolette. May not be on quite yet. I see Alyssa Nelson is here.
Aloha.
Aloha. And Heather Lusk.
Aloha.
Aloha. And Isis Usborne, or is it Usborne?
Usborne's fine. Hi, everyone.
Hi, welcome. And I just see that Commissioner Rick is joining us just now.
And with me in the DHS is
Carla Hauser. Hi, everyone. Great to see you on the screen.
Hi, Carla. Welcome. That's wonderful. And I see we also have Janice, who has just joined us. And then do I have Rick on? Oh, here he comes. Commissioner Rick, are you with us? Connecting to audio. Rick, are you with us? Rick, if you can let us know you're here and alone in the room.
I'm here and alone in the room.
Fantastic. I'm glad you made it. Thank you. All right, we are going to start with our guest speakers. Oh, wait, first of all, do we have any written testimony that we need to know about?
Nothing came in.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll go on with our guest speaker presentation because I don't want to keep them waiting. I'm so happy that they're joined us today. So first up, we have, let's see, a presentation on addressing emergency shelters for homeless unaccompanied keiki, including the Safe Space for Youth program. And so we have Leanne Gillespie, Executive Director for the Office of Youth Services, and then Carla Hauser, Executive Director of Residential Youth Services and Empowerment, and then Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center. So Leanne, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Aloha. Thank you for inviting me to speak today. I'm going to do a quick shout out to Beth Schimmelfinnick. She and my mom used to work together, Vicki Merritt. A few years ago, I won't say how many, just so I don't give away anybody's age. But I think I was in high school back then. So anyway, sorry about that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the shout out.
Inviting me to talk about the Safe Spaces program. I think someone has a PowerPoint.
I do. I had to reinstall something, so give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back and I'll be able to share screen.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. There, I don't have to go anywhere.
Okay, great. So I thought what I would do today was kind of vague what you wanted me to present on, but I thought I would talk a little bit, oh, it's gone, about the Office of Youth Services and what programs we provide, and then talk specifically about our residential programs and safe spaces. I know I've got 5 minutes. It'll be quick, I promise, and then we can move on. So first slide, next slide, Michael, thank you so much. And so, let me get that out of the way. The Office of Youth Services, our primary focus is to prevent at-risk youth from entering into the juvenile justice system, and also moving further into the juvenile justice system to HYCF. Obviously, our primary focus is to reduce system involvement and our population at HYCF. We have 5 major kind of divisions within OIS. We have our Hawaii Youth Correctional Facility and our Kauailoa Youth and Family Wellness Center. In our program development office, we have our program development office, sorry. And then we also have the Hawaii State Youth Commission in our office, and we oversee Title II juvenile justice delinquency and prevention grant programs. Next slide. But if we look at our primary focus, one of the things that we look at is our declining population at HYCF. Now, we don't take really much credit for this. Our population at HYCF is there because they've been ordered to the courts to be there. But how we reduce this population at HYCF is that we implement a strong, consistent continuum of programs for prevention. And so if we see, there's been several legislative things come up over the years, starting in 2009 with juvenile detention alternative initiatives. And that has, then we have Act 201, has made significant impact to the resources and the system improvements for juvenile justice involved youth so that we can reduce that population. And so we're very proud to be down now. We had 27 last year. Next slide. And so we look at our continuum of care programs that OIS provides, and I'm only going to be talking about OIS programs. We have over 100 contracts that we provide statewide. All of our contracted programs incorporate positive youth development as a foundation, but we provide cultural-based programs, truancy prevention programs, various residential programs, including emergency shelters, independent living, intensive independent living, a lot of programs at HYCF. But I know this is a complicated sheet to look at, but it talks about all of the contracts and the continuum of programs that we provide, majority through contract services, all the way from community prevention for youth that haven't yet touched the juvenile justice system, but are probably at risk of doing that. And then front-end justice interventions, so diversion programs, kids that might have had a couple of arrests or a first-time arrest for a misdemeanor might enter into a diversion program to try to get them the help that they need and push them out of the system so they don't move further down. Full court interventions, a list of program services that we do there, a lot of intensive mentoring, wraparound services. A lot of kids need housing services at that point. And then our HYCF program, facility programs, and then transitioning those kids successfully out of the correctional facility back into the community so they can be successful. And you're going to hear from Carla. RISE is a key component of that. Next slide. So if we generate, I'm sorry, I have the flu, so my voice is kind of croaky. We look at the kids that we serve, youth. We tend to serve, starting at age 6 through age 24. I just chose from FY 21 to 24 to give you an idea of who we serve. Served about over 12,000 kids in that time frame. The non-binary, it looks small. We only implemented collecting data on non-binary population just this last fiscal year. And we hope that those numbers will increase as our providers collect intake information and are better able to provide that to us. That will give us a better idea about the kids that we serve and the possible gaps that exist moving further as we do our program development and planning. Next slide. Again, same time frame, FY 21 through FY 24. This kind of gives you a percentage of the breakdown of the ethnicity of the kids that we're generally serving. Highest population we're serving is Native Hawaiian and Micronesian, not a surprise. Next slide. Now, if we look at only residential services, you folks were interested in the safe spaces and our residential service programs. We have contracts for emergency shelter beds on all of the islands but Molokai. And through those services, these are the number of kids and the gender breakdowns that we've served. So that moves us to the safe spaces. Act 130 was passed in 2022. It was a 3-year pilot project. It tasked us to provide programs for homeless youth ages 14 to 24 and to open up emergency shelters in each of the counties. It only provided us with $600,000 for the first year and $800,000 for the subsequent years. Now we know that running an emergency shelter, in our experience, costs us about $800,000 a year for one shelter. So we weren't able to open the shelters as tasks. What we did was to expand some of our current contracts for shelter space. So we had more beds on more days. And so that's where a lot of that money has gone to over this couple of years. Sorry. HB 613, we really thank you for your support. I know the commission's been really supportive of continuing this program and making it permanent with OAS. Thank you very much. The difference in HB 613 is that we can now serve youth up to age 25 years old, so through 24, and they don't have to be youth that are homeless, actually homeless. They can be youth that are at risk from homelessness. We actually wanted to serve youth, I'll talk a little bit about this in the next slide, that were at risk for homelessness. Obviously, we want to prevent kids from going on the street in the first place, and not wait. And so if we go to the next slide, one of the key components that we implemented as part of our Safe Spaces project is Safe Places. Now this is where it gets tricky. Safe Spaces is our program under HB 613. Safe Places is a national program that is an entry point for youth that need help. One of the things that we found out in our first year of this project doing research is not necessarily that there weren't enough beds for kids, but kids didn't know how to access the beds. And so this Safe Places, this is a national Safe Place Networks program. Anywhere that has this yellow Safe Place sign, a kid can go in and get help. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're homeless and they need shelter. It could mean that there's some other type of crisis in their life and they don't know what to do. They don't know who to talk to. They can go into any place that has this sign. They can also text for help. And then we do also have some local numbers for them. We contracted with the Hawaii Youth Services Network to launch and implement this program. They are the statewide licensed Safe Place network provider in Hawaii. They subcontracted with Halekipa on Oahu to provide 24/7 support when a youth needs help. And on Hawaii Island, it's the Salvation Army Family Intervention Services. Kids, so whether they call the local number set up or they text for help, that will relay to these two organizations on these islands, and someone will show up 24/7. It doesn't matter if it's 3 a.m. Someone will show up, meet with that youth, and see how they can help them. That may be shelter, it may not. It depends. Places with this yellow sign, they are increasing on Oahu. I've listed them there: Halekipa, Pact, Work Hawaii, Nanakuli Library. There are 11 other sites that are pending, and they're growing more and more. And Hawaii Island, I've listed a couple of sites there. Next slide, please. Last but not least, some of the data from our Safe Places implementation. HYSN is continuing to recruit Safe Place sites. We hope to see them all over on all the islands very soon. We've had a lot of text for help. Well, not a lot. There's been 25 text for help encounters. We haven't had any kid show up at a Safe Place site physically and, see the sign and show up and say, I need help. That will come. We've been developing the program and implementing. It takes time to develop programs that are meaningful and that will actually get the help where it's needed. So that's my presentation. I'm open for any questions.
Yes, I have a question, Miss.
Sure.
Yeah, I noticed that safe page you have there for the kids. Maui wasn't on that list. Is there a reason why?
We haven't rolled out on Maui and Kauai yet. We are working towards that. We have to have places for the kids to go. So one reason we first started on Oahu was because we had enough shelter beds that if kids called or texted, there were places, right, that we could take the kids. For Hawaii Island, Salvation Army was very interested. They've been involved in this for decades. And so they signed up to be that 24/7 response. And they also run minor shelters. We don't have any young adult shelter beds. So that's kind of the issue that we're running into. We have to have an agency that can do the 24/7 response and also beds for kids and or young adults to be able to go to. And so that's in the works. We're growing the program.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more thing. I heard that now that our Hawaii Job Corps might be closing up or putting on hold for our state and the whole country actually.
Close.
But I'm just worried now because I used to work with Hawaii Job Corps as a facilitator for the 20 boys when I was there years ago. And so now if they really do close up, what's going to happen to all those kids who are there now, both the male and the female? Because, they go to school for training at the college or different hotels or restaurants to learn a craft. And if they close up, all those kids, where are they going to go and what's going to happen? Because they live there, dorm there and everything's like, oh no. Have you heard of anything what might be happening?
No, I actually haven't heard of anything. I'm sorry.
It closed already.
They did.
Manalo.
I have a quick question. How many beds do you have contracted out across for each of the counties?
I can get that for you. I don't have that today. But
Okay,
they're just OIS beds. I don't have, they're only OIS contracted beds. I don't have the numbers for statewide beds for minors or young adults. I can only talk from OIS's perspective.
The reason I asked is because the version of HB 613 that we were supporting was, we support the commission supports. I'm going to just speak on my personal capacity as well. The original one, that the Equality Caucus bill, which would have given advocated money for DHS to give out to build shelters for homeless unaccompanied minors, because somebody who's been working on this for the past 15+ years was something we failed our keiki, and we continue to fail them to this day, because we do not have emergency shelters for homeless unaccompanied minors. The need outweighs the availability or the shelters that are even in place, especially if you're under the age of 18. So that's kind of one of the reasons I requested this. I invited you all and asked the chair to invite you all to come here today, because it's something that has been grossly neglected over the last decades. And we definitely need to, and we hope that with this new program in place, and then now that it's permanent, that this is something that you all will be focusing on to ensure that we keep those kids out of the jail pipeline. So if you could answer, or at least what you're looking at in the future for those.
Well, I don't disagree with you at all, Michael. And I'm gonna shorten that need with a focus on the 18 to 24-year-old population. I'm finding from my end that we have enough beds for minor children. Now, whether they're accessing that is a different issue, but the beds are available, and some of our beds are actually underutilized. But we definitely have a shortfall of beds for 18 to 24. I think Carla's going to speak later. She can maybe talk to about that a bit more than I can. But that will be our focus moving forward. In FY27, we were provided with enough funds to open at least one, if not more, shelters, and that will be the population we'll be looking at.
One quick follow-up, so that if for a child to access an OIS bed, do they have to enter the system?
No.
Okay.
No. That's the purpose of the beds, right? Not to.
Oh, that's what I hope for. But I think that's but I'm not going to speak for Carla. But I think that's part of the problems that I'm hearing from some of the service providers. The keiki are afraid that if they access these beds, that they're going to be required to enter the foster care system or be put into the system of some kind. And unfortunately, the perception out there is that it's reunification at all costs. And we've seen what that all costs has been for the keiki, especially when they're running away from mental abuse, sexual abuse, or been thrown out of their houses because of their sexual orientation or gender identity.
Yeah, and there are some issues with child welfare services and reports made to that, but I can't speak for child welfare services.
Oh, yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
No, thank you.
You're welcome.
Leanne, what does it take for someplace to become a safe space? What are the qualifications? What's the process?
I wouldn't go into the whole process now, but you would undergo training, which HYSN can provide. So you would contact HYSN, you would say, hey, Judith, I want to be a safe place and learn more about the program. They'll do kind of an informational session, and I'm sure they're willing to do that for the commission if you'd like. And then if you want to commit to becoming a safe place site, you and your staff have to undergo training and understand the data collection and what needs to happen and make sure kids are safe. And then you get a sign to put up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Rick? You're on mute, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, just to go back, I'm trying to clarify something that I thought I heard. Leanne, did you say that you believe that there are a number of beds for 14 to 18-year-olds currently available around the state for homeless unaccompanied youth that are non-system?
I'm not saying right now, I'm saying generally the beds that we have are underutilized.
Okay, and I didn't know, can you tell me?
Can't hear you.
Rick,
who are the service providers for those beds?
We have a few. I could send Michael a list of our contract providers to send you out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Leanne, thank you so much, especially since you're not feeling well, for being here and for giving us all of this information. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Real quickly before I thank you for collecting the non-binary, but historically speaking, the homeless unaccompanied minors are 40% are identified as LGBTQIA. Is there any way we can start collecting the data for the rest of the rainbow?
We actually have a very complicated spreadsheet that we worked with Thaddeus on that collects more than that. That's just for easy in the chart. But I must say, a lot of providers won't break it down. Right?
All right.
It's fairly complicated for them to, I don't know. I'm not a provider, so I won't talk for them. But sometimes, even though we send those sheets out, that information is not provided. So we're trying to work with providers to educate them and help them fill out those pieces.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Again, thank you, Leanne, so much for being here.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Next, we have Carla Hauser, our Executive Director of Residential Youth Services and Empowerment.
Aloha, everyone. I did not come with a PowerPoint. I think Leanne gave me her sickness. And so,
I haven't
but,
even seen you.
But yeah, I came today really just to express gratitude to this commission and for all the advocacy that happened in this past legislative session. To talk about the work that we do that is all about unaccompanied homeless youth. So we just celebrated our 7-year birthday, June 4th. We are located, our emergency shelter is at the Kawailoa Youth and Family Wellness Center. So that's how we intersect with the Office of Youth Services. We run a 20-bed emergency shelter that is always full and predominantly serves 18 to 24-year-olds. We see about 32% LGBT youth annually that come through our shelters. About 7% annually identify as trans. And for us, it's, how do we create this really inviting, safe space for young people where they can come in, and 2 guiding principles for us. Unconditional positive regard for all of our young people, really try to meet them where they are. We're low barrier intentionally. Our goal is not to have young people come in and all of a sudden live this clean and sober life. It's meant to be a place where they can come in and start to feel connected to their peers, feel connected to trusting adults in their lives. And so our emergency shelter, we serve about 150 young people a year. That's really with 20 beds. Young people on average spend about 120 days in shelter. And, there's a lot of trickiness about our emergency shelter. We're located on the Hawaii Youth Correctional Facility campus. And so that poses challenges, I think, initially for youth when you tell them, hey, we have this really great, amazing shelter with all of these resources and caring, loving people. And then when you drive onto campus, both entrances still say the Hawaii Youth Correctional Facility. So in that, if you can imagine the amazing work that our teams do on street outreach, that is really where the rubber meets the road, I think. Heather's on here and she can speak to the collaboration of our outreach teams. One of the trickies of youth street outreach is that the state sponsors street outreach, and that's through the Homeless Programming Office. And if you are selected to be an outreach provider for the state, you are responsible for all of the individuals in each of those 7 regions. And so as youth providers, we have to get creative. And so we have a standing partnership with H3RC, Halikipa. And so the 3 organizations collectively are responsible for urban Honolulu, Waianae, and to the North Shore to Kailua, Kaneohe. And so our small but mighty teams, we see approximately 400 young people experiencing homelessness annually. Those are young people that range from 14 all the way to 24. Some of the challenges, and we're grateful for the movement that has happened around housing for our unaccompanied minors. Last year, we were able to pass minor right to shelter that allows us to bring in young people. The challenge right now is all of our emergency shelters happen on state land. And so we are working on being able to create a minor shelter in a different location. But so in order for young people to make their way to our campus, it's through the great work of street outreach. We also rely heavily on community referrals. We get a lot of parents, a lot of kapuna who are, raising their children at this point, and sometimes mental health, substance use challenges make it no longer safe for that youth to be in the house. And so we get a lot of calls from community where they really need a safe place for those youth to cool off, cooling off beds, giving parents a break a little bit. But then we also in street outreach see a lot of challenges where we'll have a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old who are in a relationship. We can offer shelter to one of them, but they're not going to come in without their partner, which makes sense. And so we get really creative in how we work around that. Oftentimes we're able to get parental consent in order to bring that young person into our care. And then we have a number of different housing programs. And another program that I would really like to highlight with this commission is our diversion program. We work with a lot of youth who are justice involved. And if you can imagine, if you're experiencing homelessness, you're getting park closure tickets, they're going to send that ticket somewhere, but it is not to your home because you're not, you don't have a mailing address. And so then you don't show up for your court date, and now you have a warrant for your arrest. And so oftentimes the legal issues around homelessness really start to snowball for our youth. And oftentimes they are, being incarcerated for crimes of poverty. And so through our diversion program, we're being the judiciary is now identifying us as a resource for young people who are experiencing homelessness. And we're able to start paying some of these court fines and fees that are the only thing that's holding young people in incarceration. And then we've also, through Office of Youth Services and the state GIA, we were able to open a pilot clean and sober house for youth who want to live clean and sober. And so that's 6 beds that allow us to work with the judiciary so that youth can step down into a very structured environment, and we can support them in their journey towards sobriety. In all of RISE's housing in our programs, we treat housing as a human right first and foremost. And so if a young person isn't successful, maybe they're not able to follow rules yet, or there's certain parameters in the program that don't work for the young people, we always want to have an alternative. And so now RISE has quite a bit of inventory. We have 6 housing programs outside of our emergency shelter, so that when young people get stabilized in the emergency shelter at Kawailoa, we then have housing programs across the island. We have a transitional house that just opened in Waianae that serves up to 10 youth. We have clean and sober. We have our victims of crime housing in keiki. And all of them are really developed to be developmentally appropriate for young people, knowing that they're going to need that extra support in their tenancy skills. They're going to need help building their social capital because maybe the adults in their lives haven't been a good source of healing for them. And really meant to be truly deeply affordable. Most of our housing is about $200 a month. And some of the programs, after they're completed their 2-year transition program, they actually get that money back as a built-in direct cash transfer. We are in the process, we're working with Gregory House. I'll put a plug out to this commission. There's a lot of different moving pieces, but we are actively looking for a 5 or 6 bedroom house that can support our partnership with Gregory House. We have a transitional housing program for LGBT specific youth that we are ready to unroll as soon as we find a house. So if you know of one, if you're a realtor, if you know somebody, please reach out to connect with us. Yeah, I think that's us in a nutshell. So just happy Pride, everybody, and mahalo for all the continued work that this commission does to support our young people who are experiencing homelessness.
Thank you so much, Carla, for all you're doing. Do we have any questions for Carla? Rick?
Thank you. Again, my questions are most about 14 to 17-year-olds. Carla, when you're anecdotal, where do you think those kids are going now? This week, the single 15-year-old who's been kicked out, run away, pushed out, moved out. Where are they going? What's happening to them?
That's a great question, Rick. Anytime that a young person first experiences homelessness, we know here in the state of Hawaii, we did the street youth survey back in 2018. We interviewed over 150 young people. The average age that a youth first experiences homelessness in Hawaii is 14. And when they hit the streets, the first thing that they're going to do is partner up, usually with an older male, for safety. And those young people are going to have to do something in exchange for that safety. So that could be sexual in nature, that could be, our folks who are drug dealers like to use the unaccompanied minors to move a lot of their merchandise, because the legal ramifications are a lot less for a minor in those types of situations. And then, they're gonna stay undercover. They're gonna, they're gonna be very apprehensive to connect with services. A lot of times it's because they don't want to get their adult that's responsible for them in any sort of trouble. Or in a lot of cases, what we're seeing are teenagers that are part of homeless families. And sometimes the family's not ready to take steps to end their homelessness, but they want to see their youth, their children, start to have a better life. And so those are the families that we typically work with. Yeah, it's not a very pretty picture for our unaccompanied youth when they do hit the streets. As Leanne, shared, most of our emergency shelters are, they're meant to be temporary. And what we're seeing is when we get 16 and 17-year-olds, there isn't a pathway for them. They've already done multiple child welfare placements. They've had a number of resource caregivers. And oftentimes the family placement it's not in the cards for them. So what we prefer to do is bring those young people in and just start them on their adult journey a whole lot sooner. So getting them in school, getting them connected to those resources, so that we're not waiting until they turn 18 and now we say, oh, look at all these great services. Because the longer that they're out there, the longer that they're unaccompanied without that healing that needs to start to happen, right? I mean, for those of you guys that know adolescent brain development, right? When they're out there in the streets and they're, by themselves trying to survive, the adolescent brain isn't healing and growing because they're in a constant stage of fight or flight. And it's when we're able to bring them into shelter and start to make those connections for them, that's when the real healing starts. That's when they can start to dream about what they want to do, what their family life looks like, what, you know, where do they want to do for work, and even starting to explore a lot of, you know, social activities, pro-social activities. That they don't have an opportunity to do when they're in this fight or flight mentality while they're in shelter.
Right, well, thank you, but there are beds, so that when I worked at the emergency, and this was 2019, 2018, and 2020, looking for a bed for a 16-year-old who would gonna come on their own, I could never find one. I'll just tell you, Castle ER, we couldn't place them. We didn't have any place that they could go. Are there places now? It's been a few years since I did that, but is there any bed that you could say, here's a 16-year-old that doesn't have a place to stay tonight, and they can't stay in the ER unless we think of something. And so we never knew where to send them.
I'll leave that to Leanne and the Office of Youth Services. I know that we have a number of nonprofits that are community-based organizations that are contracted. I know we have made attempts. Oftentimes we're told that those beds are being held for child welfare, not for just the family member who needs a cooling off. So I know that there are a number of emergency shelters, but if you can figure it out, Rick, you let me know.
Well,
Thank you.
Okay, then I'm gonna ask the question, Leanne, since you're still with us. What do we do with because I know we, the kids at Yo, as well as at Rise, the 17 under crowd, where do we send them?
That's gonna depend. I mean, to Rick's question, if you're talking about high behavioral health needs kids, that's definitely a gap. The only way that those kids could go to our contract beds with high behavioral health needs is probably if the shelter was empty of other beds, right? So we don't want to put other kids at risk. But that's a gap, and I think that's something that Child Adolescent Mental Health Division of DOH has been trying to work at resolving that gap for those behavioral health need kids.
Well, Leanne, these were not always mental health or behavior issue kids. Sometimes they were kids who had been like kicked out. Maybe they had been, you know, got in trouble for adolescent stuff, and we just didn't know where we didn't know for that one night while we're having that, let's figure out, let's link you up. We didn't know where they could stay. I just didn't know if there might not be such a place yet. So.
Well, not knowing the case, but we also have safe house beds. Those are group home settings. Those are for kids that can't go home for whatever reason. That might be a place for them to go. Rick, I can't really tell you that if we have the beds or not that you're asking for. I do believe we have beds available. And again, our contracts have been underutilized. So I am aware that this may also be a lack of communicating what is out there for people to use when they need it.
Thank you.
Part of why we started the safe place component.
If I may, Chair, the one thing I would love to see here in Hawaii, in every county, is like we're seeing in New York City, a 24/7 shelter that they know the keiki know they can go to. They don't have to go find the yellow sticker place. They automatically know this is where they can go if they've been thrown out of their home or they're running away from abuse. That there's a shelter that they can go in and at least get them off the streets. Because as we all see the data, that it's the first 48 hours that kids on the streets where they get scooped up and put into sex trafficking, drug use. And so you say that the beds are there, we just don't know where they are or who's using them. So if we could figure that out, that's something I believe that this commission would love to hear, and as a taxpayer, I'd love to know. I don't want to see this money going wasted if we have these contracts out there, especially when we have these keiki that so desperately need services. So, I do have a question for Carla.
Yeah.
We're doing our legislative questionnaire right now. What would be your next dream for legislation to be passed to help our homeless unaccompanied kids?
We need crisis stabilization beds that are for our youth 14 to 24, someplace where much like some of the community mental health hospitals that we're starting to see. Unfortunately, our youth are not going to access that, but having something that is really specific for adolescents that are in crisis. The stabilization, oftentimes, you know, the family will take them to third floor castle and then not come back to pick them up. And that step down, that transition for them is something that we definitely want to be able to provide for people.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we also need to make it easier for minors to become emancipated? So they can access services like SNAP, while SNAP still exists, and.
Yeah, I mean, emancipation is, you know, a great pathway and a great tool for young people. Most of the time, if you're experiencing homelessness, you know, going before a judge and showing up for your court dates, it requires quite a few. We've talked about allowing 16, 17-year-olds also to enter into lease agreements so that they would be able to, you know, secure their own housing within our COC. I think that would be great. I would love to see, you know, some of the minor shelters be brought into our coordinated entry system so that community providers would know when these beds are available. I mean, we're talking about space that's being underutilized. If providers knew about those spaces, you know, we could fill those beds tomorrow just with the amount of unaccompanied minors on the west side. Yeah. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Carla, thank you very much for being here. Appreciate all the information you've given us today, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Okay, let's see. Do we have another speaker, Michael?
Yeah, Heather, she's here.
Oh, yes, Heather, great. I didn't see your name. Thank you for joining us. And you are with the Health and Harm Reduction Center?
Correct. Yes. Oh, great. Thank you, Michael. That was fast. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk today, to share about our Guide on the Side program and our collaboration with RISE and Halekipa. I'm a bit intimidated going after Leanne and Carla with all of the amazing resources that they provide. We are not a youth providing organization. But I'll get in to talk to you about what we are doing because I believe we're the only LGBTQ specific 18 to 24 for those experiencing homelessness. So yeah, would you mind, Michael, to put that in presenter mode? I would appreciate it.
Okay. See if you
thank you.
Stuff.
Or I can do it from me. I can do it. Oh, no, I don't see anything. Or I can do it from my side as well.
Okay, I will. Yeah, don't do it from your side since I'm having trouble.
Okay. I just sent a request that says that sharing is not turned on. The host is not allowed sharing, so I don't know if I can.
Go for it now.
Oh, perfect. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you again, Commission, for it's incredible to see some of the success that you have had legislatively, holding our elected officials accountable. So thank you for the opportunity to share today a little bit about our experience. I think most of you are familiar with the Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center. We reduce harm, promote health, create wellness, and fight stigma in Hawaii and the Pacific. And we do that at the intersection of the criminal legal system, chronic disease like HIV, mental health, substance use, and houselessness. And as many of you know, we're one of the larger organizations providing services by and for people from the LGBTQIA communities. And I think you also know that we're here in Kaka'ako. About a third of our services are on the street, including the guide on the side and our crisis hui that I'll be mentioning. And one of our biggest goals is, and philosophy is, the no wrong door approach. And so when we're working, for example, specifically for this program, 18 to 24-year-old young people, it's really wonderful that we can wrap around and maybe they want to access services from Kua'ana, our transgender health program, or maybe they need a place to live. While we don't do a lot of housing, we do run a kauhale, which, surprise, surprise, has a large amount of folks that identify along the continuum. Or maybe they need clinical care or to see a psychiatrist. We're blessed that we have all of those services under one roof. I wanted to start with a little bit about what we know and don't know about this population. As Carla shared, the last comprehensive street youth survey was done in 2018, though they are, I believe, finalizing, right, Carla, the new tool to do the next round of surveys. But I wanted to share what we do know around our community in the point in time from 2024. So this data is not specific to youth because they did not break it down. But I think it's what's really interesting is of the folks experiencing homelessness on the one night in 2024. As you see here, of the shelter, so folks in shelters, only 4% identified as sexual and gender minority. So Oahu is the only island because we're our own continuum of care that Carla and other folks are part of. We ask about gender identity and we ask about sexual identity on the point in time. The neighbor islands do not do that. So my data that I'm sharing right now is only from the city and county of Honolulu. But probably not surprised at all to see that 4% of those in shelter identify, whereas 12% on the street. I think this, surprise, surprise, partly comes to a lot of our shelters are not safe places for our LGBT community or our youth community, as both Carla and Leanne already alluded to. In fact, we already have at least two. I have two recorded complaints of folks that are transgender and that have been discriminated against since the administration has rescinded the HUD memo that required shelters to allow folks to be honored for their gender identity. And so we're already seeing discrimination in our existing shelters. Again, these were both adults. But then if you look a little bit deeper, they were able to get into kind of gender diversity and see that actually the numbers are a lot larger for those folks on the street, which is my first number, or folks that were in shelter. And I would not be surprised, Carla, if a lot of these were at Rise, right? Because we know that, as she mentioned, about a third of the folks they serve. And we really see, and I think most of us agree, that Rise is the most LGBT sensitive and safe space for young people in our community. I'm really grateful for all the work that they're doing and excited for the collaboration between them and Gregory House to finally get a permanent housing, right, Carla, for folks to be able to live together in community. We all know that community is where healing happens, and that we need to bring folks together and have these specific spaces where folks can be not only safe, but be able to heal with folks that have a similar lived experience. So I just wanted to share that we are, again, one of the only island that has this level of data. And Carla, I don't know, and maybe you can share this afterward, if Partners in Care has ever done a deep dive for you all on the unaccompanied minors or youth 18 to 24 with the SGM stratification, because I'm not aware that they ever have. But again, I think this speaks to the fact that we need more shelter spaces specific, because a lot of our community rather be on the streets than be in a shelter. And I think that says a lot about the work that we need to do as a continuum of care to increase safety, LGBT competency training for our emergency shelters outside of RISE. Carla already mentioned this, but did want to just note that 17.2% identified as LGBTQ from the 2018 survey. And as I mentioned, they have been finalizing the survey tool UH has for, I believe it's this year. And really happy to say that they've reached out. And so several of my staff that are LGBTQ and young people gave feedback to the tool on how they felt that their community would best be represented gathering this next level of data. So why I'm really here is talk a little bit about Guide on the Side, which again is funded through HUD, Housing and Urban Development, through the Continuum of Care, through Partners in Care. And the team is just two of our staff. They both do have lived experience and have been, why any young person can access these services. The target is LGBTQIA youth experiencing homelessness 18 to 24. And they provide navigation, case management, one-on-one support, a lot of just kind of witnessing what we call walking alongside, being able to listen, validate the stories, especially given how much trauma folks have experienced, but also be able to lift up and connect folks to supports and really try to help build resilience. So this has been, I think, a really powerful program, and really grateful for the collaboration with RISE and other partners. So just to share a little bit about, by the way, that's our team. Actually, Amadeus just left H3RC earlier this year. And actually, we just, some of you may know Coda, who is part of our homeless outreach team, and he just came over to the GOTS team, along with Nana, who's been our case manager for the past couple of years. So just sharing a 1 year of our data, and as you see here, why 284 youth were outreached to, 117 of those enrolled into the program, and 15 were placed into shelters and housing, or potentially reunified with family. And then a bit more about as I mentioned, one thing that, since housing, especially we don't do emergency shelter at all, our only housing, again, is tiny homes at Middle Street. So we really rely upon our partners like RISE, like OYS, and our traditional shelter system are the ones that we usually have to rely upon for housing. But as I mentioned, we're really blessed to have, a lot of, we have a medical mobile unit, so we can take that out and do, a lot of hygiene pieces, wound care, which is really big, behavioral health that we've already talked about, and then just meeting basic needs, food, and transportation, and other pieces like that. So really grateful. This program, I'm here talking about it, but who should really be here should be Nana or Coda, because they're the ones that really do the work each and every day. As Carla mentioned, we're thrilled to be part of the Mobile Crisis Hui, which is a collaboration among RISE, Halekipa, and us. Thank you so much, Carla. Carla was really the brainchild behind that, and been the leader, and really trying to, again, it's a small community with young people, and yet we all know that it takes a village, and the more that we can work together to do coordinated outreaches. And so this could look like a lot of different things. There's a lot of pop-ups that happen where they do, maybe like a health fair, and bring in, benefits, and bring in, pieces around healthcare, and access to other resources. And it also looks like being able to respond, not quite as real time as Leanne was mentioning, but that would be the goal, right, Carla, is eventually get to that place of real time response, because like Carla, I do believe that we need a true crisis and stabilization sites for our youth, and to be LGBT specific. So I think one of the most important pieces, and why you asked us all to come here, was to say, well, what are we hearing from those that are struggling with homelessness, or are getting kicked out of their homes, or are struggling with mental health or substance use? As Carla mentioned, the data is really clear that it starts early. And for most folks, even though we serve them at 18, most of them had experienced homelessness either consistently or on and off. I think Carla said at an average of age of 14. So we need to intervene in the pipeline a lot earlier, because we know that most young people also experienced homelessness as a kid. So as you know, we hear the team hears a lot of stories about being kicked out of their home for being different by their biological families. We also hear, of course, of folks choosing to leave because, again, I know that I've had a lot of privilege to be able to say that I'm willing to take the risk on the streets or in the park because home is that traumatic. Home is that harmful. Home doesn't allow me to be who I am. But we also hear folks that are literally kicked out. And as many of you know, our LGBTQ community is really good at creating chosen families, and being able to, especially if our biological families aren't supportive, how do we support and help building chosen families and helping people feel connected? Because again, healing happens in relationships. As we already heard from both Leanne and Carla, both Nana and Coda, who I checked in with, talked about just the high levels of trauma. Some, I don't need to get into adverse childhood experiences. You all are familiar with ACEs, but unfortunately, we just see very high rates of this with folks. And we see it especially we have a higher number of folks that identify as trans or non-binary, and see even higher rates of challenges that they experience. And of course, the thing that we never want to forget, and I appreciate that Leanne actually and Carla both highlighted this, is that from a youth development standpoint, we really want to be able to build upon and highlight the strengths, hopes, and resilience that our young people have. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I would not be able to survive myself what many of these young people have been able to get through. And not only that, but then come over and then work in the field and contribute back like some of my team or Rise's team has. And so what we hear is that having that one person, right? That one person who sees me, who honors me as who I am, who walks alongside me and witnesses me. But not just that, but that consistency that we follow through on what we say we're going to do. Because think about, we know how many young people, hell, how many of us have had people break promises over and over again, when really it's the adults that are supposed to be supporting our youth. And then again, we already know that we don't have LGBT specific housing, and we definitely don't have much LGBT specific youth housing other than Rise and soon to come their home. The other piece we heard quite a bit as folks, especially in that kind of 18 to 21, 18, 19, 20, is how excluded they often feel from the larger LGBT community, especially during months like Pride, where everything's so focused at bars and places they can't go. Some of you may know that H3RC, actually this will be our 4th year of having a rainbow prom in October as an example, and that was actually in direct response to us hearing that young LGBT folks wanted a space where it was all about them and that they determine, and youth are the ones that just develop and give guidance to what that rainbow prom may look like. And then I just want to lastly share, this is our beautiful Nana, our case manager for Guide on the Side, and she just shared a story about Keiki. And unfortunately, it's all too common, right? That she faced hardships after getting kicked out of her parents' home, which led to homelessness, was later taken in by her girlfriend, but then had to leave again. And then eventually connected with H3RC and working through a case manager. So, and now is at Lydia House, which I think I'll just end here. Really, for those of you that are not aware, Lydia House is another program that has come online in the last couple of years that focuses on our young people, and specifically our young people with Native Hawaiian backgrounds. And they have been a great collaborator. Yeah, Carla with Rise, with H3RC, and my team is there once a week providing GOTS support, case management, and linkage for folks, and really grateful to our folks at LT. And I think I'll stop there and see if you have any questions. I really appreciate your focus on young people. And thank you again for the opportunity. Actually, I lied. I'm going to take one last second. I want to support, just in preemptively, in case, Michael, you're going to ask, I 100% support Carla on the dream list is getting a crisis stabilization. I think secondarily is actually getting more of that behavioral health focus that's LGBT focused for our young people. And then lastly, as I have already mentioned, is specific housing, which hopefully will come online with the coming collaboration. And with the Kauhale, the legislature just passed more Kauhale monies, and it's an opportunity for our communities to come together and see if maybe a Kauhale is an opportunity for a tiny village for our young people to come together and build connections. And as Twinkle often said, Kuleana awakens the mana. That's what we're seeing at our Kauhale, and really hope that as our next 30 units come online, that we are able to serve more of the 18 to 24 LGBTQ youth that we see through our GOTS program. And I'll stop there, and thank you again for the opportunity to share about our program and to hear all about young people today.
Thank you so much, Heather. That's amazing. Really wonderful work. We do have a couple of questions. Sandy, can we start with you?
Yeah, mine's not necessarily a question, but it's more of a comment. I wanted to let y'all know that RISE was selected by KHON2's Founder Day charity. So there's going to be a big emphasis on homeless youth here in Hawaii being talked about over the next couple of weeks. And so we'll be taking in donations and making food and toiletries and things like that for the homeless youth here. And I'm hoping later I'll introduce this with new business that we can promote that on our social medias so that people can know to drop things off and donate.
Thank you so much.
Oh, congratulations, Rise. Congratulations, Carla. That's super exciting.
We have a question in the chat, and I believe the same person has their hand up, although you are listed as iPhone. iPhone is asking, what are the numbers of nightly homeless? In the past, it's been 125.
That for homeless unaccompanied minors. Where goes that? Carla, do you have an idea?
I mean, there's all kinds of data from point in time last year. I think we counted 198 youth. Annually, we see just over 400. And you know, some of those youth we see one time and then they self-resolve. And then other youth, you know, have chronically been out there for years. Yeah, those numbers, I mean, that's the beauty of youth homelessness. Oftentimes, they're so incredibly resilient, they will find ways to self-resolve their homelessness, and it might be for a certain period of time, and then they wear out their welcome, and then they're back out again. And so I think collectively, we've done a really good job of trying to make sure there's no wrong door for our youth. The challenges are when you only have 20 beds of emergency shelter. Our wait lists are really long, so is to create additional emergency beds in a different community so that we can meet all of the needs.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is iPhone. My name is Carolyn Gloria Martinez, and I represent Rainbow Family 808. And you don't know how painful it is to hear that in this day and age, our youth are just. I am so unhappy with the legislatures that think they're doing us a favor every time they send crumbs to our children. I don't like to speak because I get so emotional, but it's pent up anger at all of these situations that turn around and think that crumbs are enough for our keiki. I remember when we used to say our keiki are our future, but you don't hear any of that type of language coming from the legislature. In fact, you don't hear that language coming from anyone. And I feel so inadequate that only our organization can take food once a week to RISE. And whenever Yo calls, we're there. Not always every week because they don't call every week. But, you know, every time I open my refrigerator, I think of the homeless on the street that don't have a refrigerator to open, don't have a bed to sleep in, don't have a safe place to be. I talk to adults who remember being homeless, who remember having their military father here on the islands throw them out. This is what we're facing. And my question to you after all of that is, what are the numbers? 10, 20 years ago, we used to say 125 homeless youth sleep on the streets. What are the numbers today? Because they can't be 125 after all these years.
Carla already answered that question. It was 198 at the point in time from 2024. And so
Thank you, Carolyn.
Okay. Thank you for your answer. And I hope that this motivates people to not just be on a commission, but to do something, to speak up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, do we have any public testimony? All righty, then we're going to go ahead and move on. But again, mahalo to our speakers today. We really are very privileged to have you here today, and thank you for taking so much of your time to explain all the wonderful work that you all are doing. So we invite you back to any of our meetings in the future. Thank you. All right. For our commissioners, we're going to move on to member shares, concerns, and reports. So of our commissioners, who would like to start? Rick, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to go ahead, something that I just mentioned in passing, but we requested for time last month. Is it correct? And Philip, I haven't seen him on the meeting yet, but Joe would know. Joe, did the mayor of Maui send a letter acknowledging Pride this year?
You were blurred for a little while there. I didn't hear the whole question.
You fade in and out, Rick, when you speak, but I think you asked if the mayor of Maui had announced Pride. Is that right?
Did he send a letter of commemoration or of a support for Pride this year?
Yeah, we had a flag presentation like we had there on Oahu, and he read a proclamation that was beautifully written. I don't know if he did it himself or somebody wrote it for him, but yeah, it was well accepted here.
Thank you, Rick. Did you have anything else?
No, just also I wondered if the mayor of Kauai made a proclamation. I thought Philip had written that to us, but I don't think I haven't seen him on today.
No, he's not here today.
The mayor did, and we've posted both of those to our social media platforms. So I encourage everybody to follow us on either Facebook or Instagram. And we put out most of those as well. For those two times. May I
Thank
go?
you.
Yes, go ahead, Michael.
Really, I encourage everybody to look at the board packet. I did add 2 things onto there after receiving a couple of phone calls over the weekend when I got on actually Sunday. Well, first is we want to congratulate Delaware. They got their state LGBTQ plus commission by executive order on June 1st. And then I pointed out that safehouse.org dropped our rating from, we were 5th in the nation when it came to safety for LGBTQIA. We dropped down to 19. And then also I put in there the Hawaii Human Rights Campaign's 2024 State Equity Index. Just for things for you all to pay attention to, especially when we start in next month, when we look at our legislative priorities on things that, at least from their perspective, that we are, we're missing to help make sure everybody's equal and safe. But everything else is in there. In the board down.
Michael, again, can you repeat what state was that just had their commissioner?
It's Delaware, and it's also in the board packet.
Okay, thank you.
And the board packet.
Thank you, Michael. Other commissioners, sharing of concerns or reports? Okay, if no other commissioners have anything ex officios? Okay, Shannon, do you have a finance director's report?
Aloha. Pulling together our numbers. I believe the last number that I had was our estimated budget for the fiscal year was $16,400 that had been allocated, which leaves, I believe, just about $1,600 that we could have spent or can still spend with the $2,000 hard limit that is apparently enacted. And what we have spent is 15,100-ish. So we are fairly close to that. And I believe there's a few outstanding items that I do not have on my report yet. And I have seen that lots of checks went out. So hopefully you guys all are receiving checks and we finally got the pipeline going for reimbursement for folks. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Shanda. Appreciate that. Public testimony? Okay, then we'll move on to our ongoing business and updates. So first of all, update on the progress for hiring the administrative assistant 2. Devin, would you like to give us an update on that?
Still waiting for my paperwork to go through to become an OA. So I guess that's the update.
At the speed of us.
Yeah, we're waiting for her to become permanent.
All right, thank you very much. Public testimony. Okay, then we will move on to update on commission legislative priorities for the 2025 legislative session. Let's see. First, update on the request for commission's representative for SCR 145. Let's see.
The letter went out. The letter went out to the director asking for our we have not gotten a response back on that. And all of our other priorities have been we're waiting to see if the requests we've asked for public signings on everything that made it through the 2 bills, the one being HB 613. That went in. We're hopefully going to get a public signing on that one. Because as we just heard, there's definitely the need out there. It was really a great opportunity. Hopefully the governor will help shine a light on this as we try to tackle this homeless youth problem.
Thank you, Michael. Public testimony. All right, update on commission's website. We do have a wonderful new update. Michael, you want to talk about the work you did on this?
Well, briefly, yeah, we did a soft launch last week. A press release went out on Friday. We've upped the glossary. I hope you all have had a chance to look at that. There is a form on there that if you see a word, phrase that you would like to have included, just to go ahead and fill that out. It is the first of its kind from any state agency. And so we continue to make history here at the commission, trying to provide everybody with at least the terminology when talking about our community. And as always, if there's anything else you'd like to see up there, except for events, we don't do events, so that's what we say for the social media for, this is more of a landing page for stuff for more permanent information. So.
Thank you so much, Michael. If you haven't checked it out yet, you all should. Public testimony? Okay, we'll move on to update on letter to governor requesting an executive order from Governor Green to turn Hawaii into a sanctuary state for gender affirming care. And as you can see in the board packet, we don't have a lot of updates to give there.
If I may, we still are collecting signatures. We did that at the Hawaii Pride on the petition asking for an executive order. So that's part of the coalition we belong to on that. So we were pushing that at Pride, and we hopefully the other coalition members will do so with when the prides that they participate in.
Public testimony? Okay, then update on the letter to Maui Preparatory Academy donors regarding Maui Preparatory's anti-LGBTQIA+ policies for students. So the letters have gone out. That is the update. Anyone else have any updates on that? Okay, public testimony. Alrighty, update on Queer Community Leaders Meeting and Community Calendar.
It is.
Andrew's-
It's coming fast.
Yeah, it really is. It's June 12th is our next one, and it will be at H3RC.
And Andrew's here. I think he could make some updates as well. Last I heard, I think we have about 100 people signed up.
Yes, we do, Cameron. Thank you. We have 98 people registered right now. This will be a hybrid meeting, so we won't have all 98 people in the room, thankfully, because that would be an absurd amount in my tiny little office. But we are looking forward to hosting everybody this Thursday. And yeah, it should be a really great collaboration. The first hour would be networking, and then the second hour and a half, we're looking forward to really kind of structure it to have each organization have one speaker and be given a few minutes to kind of go over who they are, what they're doing in the community, and any big projects that they have coming up in the next quarter that they think that there might be kind of some sort of collaboration with from the people in the room.
Yeah.
And then just to give you folks an update from the Hawaii LGBT Legacy Foundation, as far as our community calendar, yes, we are still working on that. Randy gave me an update that it'll have a fill form option, and we're hoping to launch this in the next couple of weeks. So that we're asking is that all of the community will be able to submit their own items and through this fill form and be able to load onto the Hawaii LGBT Legacy's community calendar.
Okay. Thanks so much, Andrew, for all of your work on this with both Legacy and H3RC. And it's so exciting for over, well, 90 people, 98 people signed up who are excited to learn more about the Hawaii State LGBT Commission. So thank you for your work, and thank you, Sandy.
Thank you so much, Cameron and Sandy and Andrew. Can I just ask for anyone on this meeting who doesn't know, what would be the best way to register for this meeting?
There is a link on our Instagram at HHHRC and there's a Zephy link. If not, I can just drop it into the chat right now.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
And we also have included the Zephy link on our commission calendar for Pride Month. And we've listed that as well, so it's available there on all our social media channels as well.
All right, terrific.
Can I ask? Sandy and Cameron, one of you please reach out to the Commission to start scheduling a date for September?
Yes.
Yeah, I could do that, Sandy. I have them in my textables.
Perfect. Thank you, Cameron.
Are folks interested in the UH Commission as the next one rather than Hawaii Island?
They've already
What I was hoping is maybe we could do Hawaii Island before we do the one in September, and just give those people, because we'll be joining via Zoom here from Oahu, and give them an opportunity to organize and kind of meet who we are. Would that be an option that we could do? Maybe we could do it in early August.
Well, we set these at quarterly.
Yeah, quarterly. Yeah. So we have the Hawaii Kubenkai Health on Hawaii Island already confirmed, as well as the UH Commission already confirmed. It's just a matter of dates. So I guess I'll follow up with the UH Commission for the next one. Thanks.
Okay, good. Yeah, and we have Maui AIDS Foundation that also wants to join in, so we can schedule this later in the I guess next year now.
Well, yeah, because ideally we would do the commission, whoever in September, and then the next one in early January, because nobody's going to want to meet in December.
Okay. So it sounds like UH next, and then Hawaii Island after. Okay, thanks.
And then Maui after that. So we're already.
Yep, perfect. We're set.
Thank you. Public testimony. Okay, then we need to, it says vote to establish the name for the meetings.
Then this was a recommendation that since Legacy Foundation called it one thing, HRRC is calling it something else, but to give it a standardized name so everybody knows that this is what this is. So we so it helps with branding and helps with people knowing, okay, this is for the queer leaders meeting across the state, something like that. So that's the reason it was put on the agenda to help give it some permanency. So it doesn't change depending on who's hosting.
So we're voting on the current name that we currently call it?
Well, I'm not, what, Andrew, what is it called right now? Are you still there? Or you guys?
Hey there, Andrew. It's called a Pauhana, like the LGBTQ community Pauhana. You're muted, Andrew.
Oh, sorry. Turned on my camera, not my microphone. We're calling it a Rainbow Pauhana.
A rainbow Pauhana. Yeah, there we
Yes,
go.
the previous quarter when the Hawaii LGBT Legacy Foundation co-hosted, they called it a Rainbow Mixer. Because it was going to be after work, we kind of thought the Pauhana fit in, but I'm open to branding it whatever you folks would like to brand it. It's really your folks' collaboration with all these different community-based organizations. So I think sticking with one name eventually would be a good idea.
Yeah, we could call it something like Queer Leadership Network. That way we have like that QLN that we can use, and we could call it Pauhana, we could call it Rainbow this or that as like a subtitle type thing if you would like to do something like that.
I will say, in calling it either a mixer or a Pauhana, I feel like it brought in a lot of folks into the space that would not have come to a meeting. And it made it a lot more vibrant in terms of the amount of people who talked and learned about the commission.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, those are very essential identifiers and adjectives.
So we called it the Rainbow Pauhana with the tagline Queer Leadership.
I like that.
Works for me.
So I so moved that we now dub it the Rainbow Pauhana tagline Queer Leadership Mixer.
I second.
Public testimony? Okay, any abstentions? All those in favor? Okay, it passes. Thank you very much for all your hard work on that, you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you everybody at HRRC for everything.
Yeah, no problem. We're happy to be a part of it.
Update on addressing the needs of our community's kupuna, especially Mahu, trans, non-binary, and intersex. Do we have an update from anyone?
Yes. Aloha. First of all, I want to thank Rick for organizing what he did. He and I attended ARCA, the Association of Residential Care something. They have an annual training meeting, and we were able to attend, and they let me speak for a couple minutes, sharing the SGM Kupuna Committee's priorities and goals. I was doing that not in context of being a commissioner, however, I was there. And I did mention the commission, and I put us forth the Sexual and Gender Minority Kupuna Committee, as well as the commission, as being a source of information and collaboration for any organization in the community that wants to learn more about providing care to our LGBT kupuna. And I think it was great. We were able to, Rick knows everybody, and we were able to connect with several different organizations and individuals. And one of the things that we're looking toward doing is seeing a couple people have mentioned that they would like to find a way of developing a list of places, not just care homes, but any place that humans go as we get older and need care, that are especially LGBT affirmative. So Rick, do you have anything you want to add?
Nope, good.
Thank you so much. Do we have any public testimony? Okay, then we do need to vote on the dissolution of the PIG formed to create the coalition, as it is not needed, it seems. So do I have anyone who would like to propose that?
So moved.
A second?
Seconded.
Thank
Move
you.
to-
Any public testimony? Any abstentions? All those in favor? All right, thank you so much.
Chair, this is Erin. Just for the record, can you just state how many times that pig has met? Which I'm guessing the number is 0, but just for the record, I wanted to make sure.
Actually, we met.
That would be 0.
Well, no, we count the SGM meeting and well, that would be 2. But if we don't have to count them, we can call it 0 and just go from there.
We're calling it 0.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin. All right, let's have some updates on the Pride participation. So first, Kauai, it was wonderful. Michael and I got to be there and be in the parade with Philip. And Philip's not here today, but hopefully he'll listen to this when I say thank you so very much, Philip, for the fabulous job you did with all of the arrangements for us to be there. And we got a booth right next to Philip's own booth between him and the Legacy Foundation, which was lovely. Yes, I can't say enough. He was very organized and very helpful throughout, and we greatly appreciated it. We did have the QR codes out for our survey about what folks would like to see us work on. We had the one petition to sign, the QR code for gender affirming care, and we had our website QR code there too. And both Michael and I talked to a lot of different folks, which was amazing. And a lot of them were scanning that QR code. And so hopefully we'll get some good data from Kauai now. And Michael, do you want to talk about the proclamation you brought?
Oh, yeah. So the proclamation that we requested that from the governor that was read at the flag raising ceremony, we brought a copy for Kauai Pride. And we will be bringing a copy for Maui Pride and Hilo Pride as well. They will get their own copies for those. And so, yeah, so they brought us up on stage. It was great to be able to, for all 3 of us to be able to address the crowd. If you haven't gone to Kauai Pride, it's a great community-based, fun, family. It's like, since I've been going for quite some time, it's like going home and running into old friends. So, and great responses from everybody. So, yeah.
Very nice. So yes, we had a great experience. And then next up, this coming weekend is Maui's Pride, and Michael and I will be there for that one. Joe, would you like to give us some updates?
Sure. Just yesterday we had a barbecue beach party, which was well attended, lots of food, lots of fun, big turnout. Saturday we have the boat cruise. I think like 180 people, maybe almost 200 people. Also fun, great weather. Turnout was a really nice. We had a nice mix of locals and as well as visitors. Some people dressed up to the T, whereas others just t-shirts and tank tops. Just a nice, friendly, fun group of dancing and chatting and meeting everybody. There was a lot of new faces. So we're really excited about this Saturday's event. But I think Wednesday or Thursday we have a Kanakapila night, which is I think a $75 or $80 dinner with Eric Gilliam and his sister Amy Hanai L.E. Gilliam performing for us. I think we're almost sold out, maybe about 20, 25 more tickets to go. But yeah, it's been a really good turnout so far. So we're hoping the weather holds out for us this Saturday too for the festival. That morning starts out first with a hike, then our street festival, and then it ends with a dance that night to close it all up for the whole almost 2 weeks of events here. So good to, we'll be happy to see you, Kat and Michael here.
I will see you after the hike.
Yay! And everybody else want to come, please come on down and fly out and join us. Or if you can't, maybe give Michael or Kat some flyers that maybe they can bring over with us that we can put on our table. I appreciate that. Thank you all.
All righty, thank you. And then at the end of the month, we have the Hilo Pride, and they are having a parade. And let's see, Rocco, do you have any updates on Hilo's parade? Pride?
Well, I know that it begins at 11 o'clock. And then the festival follows immediately after. The parade route ends right there at the park. So I do need to confirm with Devin, because the last time we communicated, she said she was going to be filling out the forms for us to have a booth. And if I'm here to volunteer my vehicle for a truck to drive through the parade, if we don't want to walk it because it's a little hot. So I'm happy to do that. I'll be there. I have tables, I have chairs, I have a tent. So I can set up for the booth and all of that. And I believe it's you and Michael that we're planning on coming to this one as well, right?
So Rick, you're going to, I believe, right?
Oh, Rick. Okay, cool. Yeah, so anything that any of the three of you need, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help coordinate whatever I can.
Thank you. And just following up, Devin, on those forms.
All the forms are filled out.
Okay, awesome. So we're good to go?
Except for, we still haven't gotten the invoice from the parade for us to sponsor it. I have reached out, I know Rocco's reached out. So Devin, what is the deadline for us to get that invoice to be able to pay for this year?
The deadline is going to be June 16th.
June 16th. So we don't have the invoice by June 16th. We won't be able to pay sponsor this year. So we'll have to wait till next year. So just so everybody knows and everybody paying attention on Zoom land, we have sent out emails, I text messaged. So we're doing everything we can in our power. We just need it as a state agency. We need an invoice with an EIN to cut a check from the state to the nonprofit or supporting organization. So we're doing our best. We're trying really hard, but we look forward to seeing everybody there on the Big Island in Hilo.
Thank you. And then Rocco, you're up next, of course, for Kona. You're covering the entire island.
Yeah. And actually, thank you very much. We did receive the sponsorship check in the mail today from the commission. So that was already received. I appreciate you jumping on that early. That really means a lot. And yeah, those plans are still moving forward. We'll make sure there's a booth space for the commission there as well. And of course, any of you visiting commissioners, please let me know if there's any help you need coordinating your stays or anything like that in Kona. I can always recommend the best, easiest way to make this a good weekend. But yeah, we're very excited. I know it's a few months away, but it always seems to come really quickly.
Thank you. My wife and I went to Kona Pride last year and had such a great time. And we had those fans that you all gave away. And we took them to Kona or to Kauai Pride with us. And so many people, where did you get those fans? Where'd you get them? I want one of those. So I'm hoping to have the same ones this year.
We have quite a goodie bag this year. It'll be amazing.
Thank you so much, Rocco. Okay, and then Honolulu Pride.
But before we move on, I'm sorry, I didn't update the packet properly. I know Shonda wants to go to Kona. Kat and I both have put our names forward to go to Kona. Anybody else? Because we're gonna, just a reminder, we're gonna have to be doing budgeting again next month. So if you want to go to Kona, you just let us know. And reminder, the commission's only paying in to fly in and fly out. If you want to spend the thing, it's on your own dime. So Sandy wants to go, so we'll add that to the list. Sandy, Shonda, Kat, and myself. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
And
okay.
Then Honolulu Pride.
Honolulu. Okay, so we've already paid our $500. We are a community sponsor for Honolulu Pride, the $500. They just updated their website. The space this year is only $300 to get it for a tent, for a tent space, and then we have to provide our own. Otherwise, we have to rent. $200 for the tent, $50 for the table, $5 for each individual chair. What do you call it? The only way I see that actually working is us finding partners either with the other commissions, be it Commission on the Status of Women, Fatherhood Commission, or the Youth Commission. Those are the other three under DHS, to be able to help us put at least staff those while we are in the parade. And so that's going to be required some outreach. So everybody put your thinking caps on. You all, that would also, if you guys would want to do the booth afterwards at the Waikiki Shell. And then also I need to know Joe, Rocco, and I'll reach out to Philip if you all want to fly over for that as well, so we can start putting those into the budget things. And again, that would be a fly in and fly out situation.
Is that right? Even if the booth is in the evening?
Unless you're gonna stay and volunteer and staff the booth the entire night. Because there's with the way we got out of there, there's more than enough time to get everybody back to their planes to fly home that night.
Is anybody keen to do this, Rocco? The whole staffing of the booth all night thing.
I was just curious how late that goes. How long is the obligation till?
When did they tear down last year? Anybody know? I did not stay that long. That was
we didn't have a booth last year.
No, but how long did the
we're talking in general, we're asking the public, since none of us did the booth. Does anybody know what time breakdown was last year? Well, it's several months away. We have time to figure that out. So
I can answer. In the past, it was 6 p.m.
No, sorry, thank you, but they went to a late night this time. You, sir, I'm not even sure you were on island for last year's Pride.
No, I wasn't, but there was years before.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think I might like to put my name on for the Honolulu Pride, Michael.
Okay.
The fly out. That would work for me.
Rocco, did you have something else you want to comment?
Oh, I was just curious because if that is more of a logistic issue, I don't know what our commission would feel like just splitting up for that. You know, if two of us could man a booth while the others were marching, and then I don't know if that's a conversation to be had. But yeah, I would like to know, like, I mean, you're tearing down at 10 at night. I wasn't aware of how late the festival portion actually was. So I know that's quite an obligation for any of us to say we're going to sit at the booth until 10 or 11 at night.
Yeah, we'll have to talk more about the whole booth situation because we don't really have a lot of the fancy things to hand out or anything at a booth. And it is quite loud to be able to actually have conversations with anyone coming up to talk to us. So we'll have to talk more about that.
Okay, so I'll reach out to Legacy and have a conversation with them of what the layout looks like, because we still don't even know that yet. Okay. So, but yeah, that's what like I said, that's where we're at. So Joe, Rocco, putting you on the list to fly in? Or no? Yeah, okay. I'll reach out to Philip. Okay.
All right, great. Public testimony. Okie dokie. Update on sponsoring Gender Journey Day.
Aloha. I believe the check went out, and once again to tell everyone, Gender Journeys Day is a one-day training-ish opportunity for education and collaboration for taking care of our gender diverse keiki and opio, our youth. It is June 28th, coming up fast on a Saturday. It's an all-day event. There is a nominal fee for trans youth and their families. However, costs need not be a barrier. There are scholarships, and they will help with transportation from the other islands to come. So if anybody's interested, I put the link again in the chat. Thanks. And it's awesome. I was there last year, and Cameron and I both have been involved in the planning of it.
And if you want to register to attend. Registration closes this Friday, the 13th.
Thank you. Too bad it's on the same day as Hilo Pride. Yeah. Okay, public testimony?
They should have
Alrighty,
received our check already. They should have already received our check, right, Kevin?
Should I know that out over a week and a half?
The check went out a week and a half ago for those that didn't get that.
thank you for confirming. Okay, then we have update on collecting hate crimes data discussion. Oh, sorry, Rick, did you have your
Well,
hand
that's
up?
okay. Just before we left Pride's, I just looked at the registration and it says that it ends at 9 p.m. The festival for Honolulu Pride ends at 9. So it's not as late as I thought.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and then update on collecting hate crimes data discussion.
I asked that we table this since I wasn't able to do any more work I'm planning on between meetings.
Okay, great. Not great, but understood. Thank you. Update on Hawaii Department of Education's actions taken. Beth, do you have any updates? Is she still? Yeah, she's on. Beth, how's it going there in the DOE?
I'm sorry, what update were you looking for?
Taken or to be taken in response to the required certification to end all DEI practices to receive federal funding.
We currently have federal monitor that is keeping us up to date with what is going on nationally. And he's wonderful. I mean, and I really appreciate all the work that he's doing. He keeps me informed constantly. For example, today there were 700 Marine troops that were deployed to LA for the immigration issues that are going on over there. So yeah, I don't have a lot to report that's new, but we are trying to stay on top of it.
Thank you. Anyone else about that? Public testimony? Okay. Updates from Gender and Sexualities Alliance Advisors Meetup.
Has a date been set for the next meetup on that one?
No, actually, so we met with DOE and some of the other folks on, what day is it? Last Tuesday. And so we're waiting. I think actually, Cam, we're just waiting for a few contact emails from you for some colleges and universities because we want to expand it to beyond high school. And so we're just waiting on that. And then we're going to coordinate with our GSAs to see what cadence they would like the next meetings to be, how often, what days, things like that, so that it really could be useful for them. And then we're going to loop everyone back in. So just pending some contacts and follow-ups. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Public testimony? Okay, update on request for proclamation for June 2025 Pride Month from the governor. We've got it.
Got it. We're already covered that. It's up, it's out, it's on our website, it's also on our socials, and like I said, we're taking them on the tours and they will also have we also got one for the commission, and that will be at our table at the AIDS Walk, so people can see it there.
Thank you for getting those copies, Michael, and taking care of that. Public testimony? Okay. Update tabling for Honolulu AIDS Walk on June 21st.
Send out? Yeah. Okay. So I will be there at 7:30 in the morning on the 21st with the kit. Tablecloth, all the other good stuff. And Shonda and I will be there at Kapi'olani Park. Because the registration starts at 8, walk starts at 10, and then it should be over by noon-ish. But we lost Amber, so yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you for doing that, the two of you. Public testimony? Alrighty, update on pride flags to be flown from the auxiliary flag poles for Pride Month.
We did it.
On the
Thank,
board.
a big, yeah, a big thank you to Joe and Dean, because they stepped up, and the idea was that we were going to ask each of the different queer orgs to cover the cost. There was about $70 a pop. There's 8 of them. And so, yeah, and they asked for a flag raising ceremony, which first the governor's office didn't think they were gonna be able to do, but they turned around and was able to do that. We got notification on the Wednesday for the following Monday. And that was a quick turnaround, to get that. And we also put together between commission and Lake Hawai, put together a coalition of 40 different organizations covering every county. And so yeah, and you can see the flyer for that is available on the commission's website, and also we've encouraged our partners to share it out as well. And we had about 50 to 75 people who showed up that morning at 7:45 on a Monday, after it rained all day the day before, to come for the flag raising ceremony. So, and that has gotten us a great response, positive as well as negative responding. I did stop by the governor's public outreach office, community concerns, and they are going to be forwarding us all the communications that they've received on that, so we can at least decide if we're going to respond in any way, shape, or form from us, since this was a project between us and Lake Hawai. But it may just give us a temperature read on because for those of you that followed us in social media, some of it got pretty ugly from their opposition. But there were some also really good responses. And yeah, we got some really good news coverage out of it.
Thank you, Michael. And I see in the board packet you included some of that press, the links to the articles, so much appreciated. Public testimony? All right, update on polling public for 2026 legislative priorities. In the board packet that's up to date to June 5th. We did collect data this weekend, but honestly, I got home last night from Hawaii and have been in meetings since 8 a.m. straight, so I have not looked at the most recent data. Michael, have you had a chance to peek at it?
I did. We're up to 90. Oh, sorry. Yeah, 90 responses. Of them, 87 have told us what island they're from. 66.7% coming from Oahu. 13.8% from Kauai, 17.2% from Hawaii Island, and 2.3% from Maui. So, when we picked Harvey Milk Day as a date to launch the survey, little did we know what garbage did we have in store coming from us from the federal government, which you saw in the early part of the packet, the statement from Kat and myself regarding the renaming of the USN after Harvey Milk, stripping it of its name. So, anyways, I digress. So we encourage everybody, it's gonna be our big push. We are gonna be pushing that through the end of the month. My personal goal was originally 1,000. At this point, I'm gonna be more realistic and say 500 responses, which will still be the largest political survey in the state's history. So I encourage you all, if you have not already done so, commissioners, please send the link out to everybody you know. Also send it to all, also, if we're going to be asking all the orgs that show up on Thursday to send that out as well. Because while we do have it on our socials, the best response is a direct ask from an organization or an individual that they know. So if you have not done so, please do so. So this will give us the data that we need as we move forward. I can say by glancing at some of the data, we have had a couple of our opposition has got a hold of it. But the nice thing is that we can what do you call it, weed those out in the responses, and we are going to share the raw data with any organization that asks for it. The raw data will we'll remove all the contact data because we made it perfectly clear in the survey that they will not be sharing that, selling that, or lending that to anybody for those that respond to the survey. So we'll give out the raw data. So people, if they want to pull just their island, if they responded with that, if they want to see what the Mahu community has to say, since that's an option. So people are going to break it down and be able to look at it how they want to, but we will do a recap to have included in our legislative, our fiscal and legislative response to the legislature by the next meeting to be included in that. So please help us get the word out.
Thank you, Michael. Public testimony? Alrighty, review draft of 2025 Commission Fiscal and Legislative Report to the Governor and Legislators, which is in the board packet. Anyone have anything to talk about around that? Hopefully you all had a chance to take a look at it. Okay.
Well, let's go through it since we're gonna next. You'll see if you look under the timeline for 2025, there's a bunch of paragraphs where it says insert this, insert that. So I am going to ask if you are the lead for one of those prides, if you could provide at least a couple of sentences to us by the end of this month, so we can add that, send it directly to Devin, because Devin has the most updated version of this report. We're going to need to put those in there. If you have not provided us your own personal blurb for commissioners' reports, please get that to Devin as well. You'll see that in the report. Let me see. Hold 1 second. So yeah, you will notice that there is a lot of regurgitation that was in the original one, that the one that we sent in December. And the reason for that is because that report did not actually get posted to the legislative website until a month ago. So we wanted to make sure that we covered everything in our first year so they could see everything we've been doing. So I'm going to share screen real quickly. And I'm gonna get to the section I was talking about. Like we're gonna insert, if we can, for the number of people that show up, officially show up on Thursday for the queer leadership meeting, and then we could also put in the official title of that. But these things like Hawaii Pride, Maui Pride, the AIDS Walk, Hawaii Island Pride, and the Gender Journey State. Those are the things that we're going to need to help fill out this report. And then we'll have a link in here to the results from the questionnaire. And you'll see. Thank you and I do want to thank all the commissioners that already got us their part. So if you see your name there, that means we're missing your thing. So please get that to Devin sooner rather than later. Please do not push this until last minute, because at our July meeting, we are going to have to finalize this to get this in on the regular time frame. And then we also included earned media, and there will be a final fiscal spreadsheet to be added to this. So if you have anything else you want to see added to this, by all means, please send it to Devin. Devin will update that as well as we move forward. Yeah. So yeah. So any other questions about?
Devin, can you just send an email to both Philip and Rocco as a reminder, since Rocco had to leave and Philip's not here, just so that they know to get that to you?
Yeah, I can send another email.
Thank you. And maybe just put a link to the document. When is it due, Michael?
We got it. That's the So on this point, one of the bills that we asked the governor to veto, which was on the board packets, he did sign into law. I did not see that until after the meeting. We are now, required to have our board packets up, 3 days prior, 3 business days prior to the meeting. So board packets now have to be up for their July meeting. Okay, so we'll have to be up by the 9th at 2:30 on the 9th. Versus we used to have until 2:30 on the Friday before. Well, actually, we had until Saturday. We were really good about getting the board packets up earlier. But yeah, so to give Devin enough time to make sure it's all there, everything is due no later than July 7th, Monday, July 7th at noon. So that will give her a day and a half to put everything, final touches on that. So we can include that in the board packet. Because we will have to vote on it and then make any amendments in real time at the meeting so we can vote on it and get it out to the legislature.
July 7th.
Yeah, so July 7th at noon is the deadline for anything else to be added to the thing.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you both for working on that. Okay, public testimony. All right, then we have made it to new business. Discussion and vote on sending a representative to the Hawaii Coalition for Civil Rights. There's information about this in the board packet. Anyone want to discuss anything about that? So that's going to be, what is it, Friday mornings, Michael?
Yeah, they meet the first Friday of every month via Zoom.
First Friday of every month. So we need to see if we are going to designate one person who is going to commit to being at those meetings first Friday of every month. I'm looking at the board packet trying to find the time of it. Sorry, hang on.
I'll say 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Is there someone who would be interested in such a position?
I'll do it if no one else wants it.
Would anyone else?
What's
like
the
to-
position?
So it is representing the commission on the Hawaii Coalition for Civil Rights.
I mean, I can put my name in the pot.
Right. So either Sandy or Michael are interested. Anyone else?
Oh, sorry, it's 8:30 to 9:30.
8:30. Okay, what do you all want to do?
Okay, so just, yeah, so Sandy, if you want to do it, it's all yours. We just need you to report back to us and have something in writing every month for the board packets.
Okay.
You good with that, Sandy?
Yeah, that works. I'll talk to Michael about like specifics on dates and stuff like that whenever we're on a
Okay,
outside of this.
you're gonna have to turn that around quickly because it's the first Friday of every month. And the board packets have to probably have to be back out the next Wednesday.
Okay, so it'll be a quick turnaround. So I can just do it that night then. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Sandy, for volunteering. Appreciate that, because Michael, you have a lot of things on your plate for sure.
Chair, were you gonna vote on
Yeah,
Sandy?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I was first going to ask for public testimony. Public testimony? Okay, can I have a motion?
I move that Sandy's our representative, Civil Rights Commission, whatever that. HCCF.
I second.
Rick seconds. Any abstentions? All those in favor? All right, great. Then Sandy, it is you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And speaking of Sandy, we're next going to discuss Olelo's coverage of board meetings, submission to Hawaii State Archives, and airing on Olelo channels and apps. Take it away, Sandy.
Yes. Okay. So the Hawaii State Archives and Olelo are in the process of getting a significant amount of money from the governor to cover commissions and council meetings. And a big part of this is for distribution on the channels, but also to archive it in the historical archives so that it's always there for anyone to access. So what would happen is once this money is set aside, Olelo would deal with all of the Zoom, all of the recording, just basically everything. So we wouldn't have to worry about that at all. And they would take care of the distribution, and Adam would deal with archiving it in the state archives. They're expecting this to start in January. So once the RAP is out from the governor, then we can put in a request to have that coverage. It won't cost us anything. The state will be covering the cost for it. And so it is just a great way for us to get our meetings packaged, not having to worry about a lot of the recording parts, but also getting it archived, I think is a big benefit of this.
Let's ask some questions.
Okay, what y'all got?
Will they archive what we already have in our YouTube channel?
Yeah, it is on the YouTube channel. It will be, like I said, at the Hawaii State Archives itself as well. So it can be accessible for anyone who wants information on LGBT life in Hawaii.
And would it also be on YouTube?
Yeah, well, it would be on the state's YouTube, Olelo's YouTube, our YouTube. It would be on the channels, the Olelo app, and like I said, the state archives.
And then physically, would our meetings then be where we had our very first meeting?
That is something that is going to be determined commission by commission. So once we get closer, we can figure out, do we want to do it? Because Olelo has a studio at the state capitol that we can use. There's also the studio at Olelo at Mapunapuna that we can use. There may be also the option of what you're doing now in the room that you're doing it. So that is actually going to be determined a little bit closer to whenever that rolls out.
Others, what questions might you have?
So I want to see if I'm understanding this correctly. Basically, it would just be a little bit wider distribution by somebody, and we don't have to do it.
Basically, yeah, that, and we don't have to worry about any of the recordings. They literally take care of everything. The microphones, the Zoom connection with the virtual and the in-person meeting. They just take care. They would take care of everything. We literally would just come to the meeting.
Cameron.
And Sandy, this will work in the hybrid format that we're currently
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I guess my other question was, would this be streaming live on the television, like on OCs? Okay.
Yep.
So anyone looking, channel surfing will be able to watch our meetings. Okay.
Yep.
And I have in the chat, Mecca, it says, FYI, if the coverage is similar to neighborhood boards, no, it's a 2-hour max recording.
That's not necessarily going to be with the commissions. That's a different thing that Olelo is doing with the city for the neighborhoods. This is a whole different thing.
Yeah, so well, if you could find out for us that there's a time limit, because like we have, like for today, and is there going to be flexibility? Should it be in the future be with their rate? I guess this would just cover our regular meetings and not special meetings, or would this cover everything?
From what I understand, it's going to be covering everything. So if we have like a special meeting, they would cover that. And again, it wouldn't cost us anything. It would be part of the governor's package.
So each of the individual commissions are then voting on whether or not to do this?
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, they have to. If you want to participate, you can ask. We're not required to at this point. I don't know if the governor will end up requiring everyone to do it or not. But at this point, from what I understand, we just have to put in a request once that REP is out.
When is P is not coming out till?
So that they said that would be coming out closer to January, probably like November, December.
So is it necessary that we vote yet now, or can we wait until the RFP comes out?
No, well, the thing is, I thought that we were closer to the rollout, so I was putting it in this meeting. But I found out yesterday that it's actually a little bit further down the road. So I figured today I would just go ahead and let people know about it so that we can vote about it when it gets closer and we have more information on all the more intricate questions that we have.
So shall we table the vote?
Yes, we can table the vote.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like the potential downside that we'll have to weigh against the potential upsides is there may be could possibly be a change to location. And if we don't like the idea of our face being on public access TV, that would be the downside. Is there any that I'm missing?
I didn't hear your second thing, Shonda, sorry.
If we had a problem with our face being on public access television instead of only on YouTube, that could presumably be a downside. I don't see any other problems. Am I missing any?
We have a couple of months to think about the downsides. You know what I mean? So, really consider it, because if that is a situation where people don't want their faces shown, that is something that we need to discuss. You know what I mean? So think about it. Like I said, we're a little bit farther out from rolling it out than I thought. So we've got a little time to think about it and ask more questions.
Mm.
To go back to Shonda's question about the, like for members of the public, they would not have to turn on their cameras for Zoom. But when you go to a public meeting, like at the Capitol, you just know where not to sit, because those are you're automatically guaranteed. Unless you know exactly what chairs to sit in for a hearing, you know you're gonna be on TV. So, that kind of thing. Like when people come here, there is no way, if you come to this room with the owl automatically picks you up if you speak. So there's that. But for the public, they're not required, and anybody from the public can put whatever they want as their name. And they just don't turn on their camera. We don't require them. The only people that are forced to have their camera on are us commissioners.
Mm.
Was that a question?
No, I don't think that was a question. That was just a.
Oh, okay. It was just more of a logistical thing. Yeah, I'll make sure that they understand that. I know that they are already covering some commissions at the time. So, and I'm sure that they are dealing with that as well. So I'll do more inquiries about that particular issue as well.
And you said this would go live, because there was a large lag time between the time we filmed and the time that we actually got the recording for our
Yeah,
first
that was like a one-off situation. This would be a whole program.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there'd be a quicker
And it would
turnaround.
be not just our commission, it would be all the commissions.
So there'd be a quicker turnaround. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah, there would be like a team dedicated to this.
I guess one of my wonderings would be around those who attend our meetings, not as commissioners, but just as guests. Would they be in any way less likely to or intimidated by joining our meetings if it was live and on public access TV? And I guess the only way I'll find that out is if I ask people, but yeah, I guess that would be one of my wonderings.
Yeah, it would be kind of like, watching, what is I can't remember the thing that you watch, where you watch the Congress, what's it called?
C-SPAN?
Yes, C-SPAN, thank you. I was like, oh my God, what are the letters? It'd be like C-SPAN, you know what I mean? That type of situation. I don't know what kind of accommodations they make for people who maybe don't want to be identified, but I would imagine that they would have to do that, considering I would imagine, especially like Civil Rights Commission, things like that, they're going to be sensitive issues. So it will be things that we will need to discuss, and they will have to work those things out.
Mm.
Like when Erin, do you know if that is the case, then would you guys still have to provide the room at DHS for the public to attend?
Well, we would have other options besides that room.
I mean, they're not going to go to the Olelo studio, right?
Well, there's the Olelo studio, but there's also the studio that they have at the Capitol.
Yeah, our first meeting was at Olelo.
Yeah, the first one was at Olelo. They have, let's see, they built a studio for the governor, so he has his own private one. They have one for the Senate and one for the legislature, and I believe they have one for the public. So they have a few different studios at the Capitol.
Okay.
Then
And Dale,
we're gonna lose the studio at the Capitol once when put the Capitol under renovation, whenever that happens, just another thing.
and Dale in the chat says, just mentioning for neighborhood board meetings, I believe they're shown 2 times on TV. The neighborhood board special meetings are recorded and published, but not shown on TV.
Okay.
All right, you all. Well, let's keep thinking about that and we'll put it on our ongoing business for our future meetings. Do I have any public testimony before we move on? Okay. Thank you very much for all the information, Sandy. And then future meeting topics, again, we have invited the governor, but other government and non-governmental organizations, anyone who you think you might want to invite or would be good to invite. Does anyone want to say anything or discuss anything about that?
I hope the rest of the commissioners will come up with other topics like we had today, because it was really nice to hear about these things that we've talked about in existential kind of things, but to hear the from our frontline service providers. So if there's other things out there, this also gives a great opportunity to shine a light on those areas that don't necessarily get those, especially at the hearings. And that we definitely to be able to help people understand our community a lot better, because this is one of our one of the calling cards that we're supposed to be doing here at the commission, is making sure people understand our community, especially our government, as well as the greater population.
I would like to see us invite more Native Hawaiian organizations. So maybe I can find someone at the Sexual and Gender Minority Work Group working with Papa'ololokahi or somebody else that would like to come. So I'll put that on my agenda. Hopefully Thaddeus is going to help me remember that too.
Thank you. That's a great suggestion. Appreciate you following.
I just want to confirm that I'll help Shanda with that.
Thank you, Thaddeus.
And also the public, if there's things that you want to hear from us, that you can put it in the chat now, email it to us, put it on our socials. There's something that you would like us to, and ideally, if you come up with an idea, people that you would like us to invite along with that, because at least it'll, so we know who to reach out to. The homeless czar for the governor was invited to be part of today's presentation, but unfortunately there was an accident at work, and so they had to do a bunch of changes with scheduling, so he had to go to a conference instead of being able to be here today. And he says that he would like to come to a future meeting, so he should be reaching out to us when he's available, so we can at least hear from the homeless czar perspective on what they're doing, how they're going to help with the homeless unaccompanied minor situation.
Thank you. Public testimony? Okay, then we are moving on to our adjournment. Would anyone like to discuss? Oh, okay.
Before we go on to adjournment, since we have the time now, that tomorrow night, if you're on Oahu, there's the free movie put on by Lake Puahale and the Legacy Foundation. It's Out in Paradise. It's from the 90s. It's about an hour or so long movie. It's free at the Hawaii Theater. You just have to go online and get your tickets. So if you're available to do that, and the Sarah Banks should be there. She's one of the filmmakers that will be there for a Q&A afterwards. And yeah, the Hawaii Theater is a really nice venue too, although it does get a little cold.
We're going, so wave at me if you're there.
I'll be there.
Nice.
Since I haven't seen you in so long, Kat.
You're gonna get really tired of me really soon, Michael.
Are there any other announcements, Kat? Is that okay if you ask? Since we have time.
I'm gonna give you all 7 minutes back of your lives. How about that? Or less, depending if we have a discussion for adjournment. Anyone want to discuss adjourning? Okay, public.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Any abstentions? All those in favor? Thank you all so much, and I'll see you next time.
Y'all have a great night.